Hey all, Rob here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when future videos are out. And the topic of this video is the executives and basically the big shots at Disney are reconsidering Marvel Phase 5 and 6, their plans to change things up. And from what I've read in various articles, these are like mainstream news sources. It's not like the usual rumor mill of some comic website promoting this news or some person in the forums promoting this news. No, it is mainstream official news sites saying basically, the executives, don't forget, Disney, they got rid of Bob Chapek. They fired him. And when a big company fires someone, they usually don't want to do that because it's like public embarrassment. They outright got rid of him and they put back Bob Iger. At least for now, right? And so, this is very public news. So it is showing change. The fact that they lost over $1 billion in the last quarter financially is motivation. Now the company wants to do something to change things up. So the fact I'm reading this news of them reconsidering changing things in Phase 5 and 6 is a good thing. Because, it seems like when a company is doing well, such as Disney was doing well, they don't care if they take experiments and they go woke. They don't care. And they'll keep doing that. But when a company starts losing a lot of money, then they're reconsidering. I think it's personally the money. That they've lost a lot of money. That they're trying to say, wait a minute, let's look at this over again. Is this the direction we want to go? And you see, they haven't learned. You go woke and you go broke. Because with rare exception, this is always the case. Usually the stuff that they're pushing, the whole woke agenda, it only appeals to a small percent of people, but they are the biggest voices on the internet. The reality is they are not as big as you think. Because if they were, why aren't all of these properties that they push this stuff on super successful? It is basically a policy, that agenda of you must think like they do or you're the enemy. It is against free speech. It is against freedom of opinion or freedom of expression. Because they must think alike and push the same ideas, or else they turn against you. It is a failed philosophy that does not work in the real world. Because every time they try to push this stuff, it fails. Traditional family, traditional marriage, traditional raising of your children. These are the things that are successful in society. You look at why Disney became successful. Why? Because it appealed to family values and to families and children. When you go to Disneyland, are there single women who go? Again, don't get me wrong. There are single women, there are single men, there are single teenagers. Don't get me wrong, okay? I'm saying that it exists. But generally speaking, what was the majority of the Disney audience growing up to? What was the appeal of Disney, for the most part, of why it became successful? It was because they supported families, traditional families, the traditional marriage, and the traditional value, and American culture, and it was an example of America and what it represented of the best values for family and for the expression of it. But you look at the turn they have done with all of these other agendas, the sexual agendas, the political agendas, and all of this other stuff that they're twisting and trying to push as the mainstream. And guess what? It's failing because the American family values and tradition are being turned against. These two values cannot coexist. The traditional and these other policies that they're pushing. Because it occupies the same space. So one is going to win and not the other. You can't push both. You can't be one way and then push the other way as well when that other way goes against the first way. How did they make their billions and become so popular? It was appealing to the tradition and to the families. And now that they have turned against it, guess what? Their audience is leaving. I read a post, and this was a while ago, years ago, that if the MCU had started, not about, what was it, 11 years ago by now? If it had started now, right now, and not 10 plus years ago, it would not be successful. Because they would have pushed all of this woke stuff into the MCU back then. The only reason it became successful was because it existed in a time before this agenda existed to push it, like nowadays. And we had such momentum going forward back then that it took a long time to turn the boat to go fully woke. Well, guess what? Disney has done it. They have had the time, and they have steered Marvel and also Star Wars into that philosophy. They've changed it. It didn't happen right away. It took a couple of years. It took some time by pushing that wheel to the side and keep turning it to the left. And they finally succeeded. They have changed the brands from what it was, in Marvel's case, 10 plus years ago. They have changed it to fit the philosophy of today, of what they're pushing. And in my opinion, I have no faith that Secret Wars, Kang Dynasty, what they're pushing to, it's not going to be Endgame. It's not going to be as appealing as the past films. How can I say that? I can say that because with assured confidence, if they're going to push Ms. Marvel, the Kamala Khan version, if they're going to push the Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, if they're going to push Ironheart, if they're going to push Echo, or all of these, the female Hawkeye, if they're going to push all of these characters as the big crossover event, endgame type thing, fighting Kang, if this is their plan to push these types of characters as the build-up towards the big battle, they are going to fail. You ask the average person who's not a Marvel fan, or I guess just watch the movies, would you rather see on the big screen for the big crossover Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk, or would you rather see Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan, Ironheart, female Hawkeye? Who do you think the audience is going to want to see on the big screen? Who do you think they're going to want to pay the big money to see? That's why I assure you Kang Dynasty and the Secret War is not going to be as fulfilling as previous movies, and that it will be a disappointment. Because I know what characters they're going to push. And if those are the characters that they want to appeal for the next big event, then they're going to fail. It's as simple as that. And I do have no faith that Disney is going to change it up in a positive direction. Because you've got the same people in place who have made it a mess. So if you have the same people who are making it a mess, why would I expect them to clean up their act and make good stuff anymore? I don't. So to me, it's going to fail. But the fact that they're reconsidering it, it points two things. Number one, even if they didn't admit it, it is an admission of failure. Because if Phase 4 was successful, why would you reconsider Phase 5 and 6? Because the fact that you are is admitting what you're doing now is a failure, or at the very least a disappointment. That's number one. And they're saying they're going to push quality over quantity. That to me is another admission of, guess what? Failure. Because if you were making good stuff now, you wouldn't say, well, let's focus on quality and not quantity. That's proof that the quality you're pushing now is not so good. Just the admission that they want to change things up indicates that they are failing currently. Like I said, I don't predict future movies to be good anyway, because look at the characters they're going to push for the next big event movies. They're not as good or popular as the previous characters. I also think maybe it's about time that they get new actors to play the role of Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor. And the Hulk. And Hawkeye. Now, why did I say that? Because these actors have been around for 10 plus years. They've aged. They're older. And you want a more physically fit, lively, younger actors for the next 10 years of movies. At some point, you're going to have to bring back Captain America and Iron Man and Thor, because they're too popular not to. Why would you let them sit on the sidelines? So if you have to bring them back, and the original actor is older now, what decision are you going to make? The characters outlive the actors. The characters are not defined by one actor. Eventually, you're going to have to get a new actor. The only question is, the Marvel world is so connected, you cannot reboot it without it affecting what goes on. So, how can you do this? That's the question. Will the audience accept it? I think if you choose the right actor and the right story, you can bring the character back and the audience will accept it. You got to get younger actors who could at least last 10 years to fulfill the role and make it look good in future movies. Now, of course, you're going to say Iron Man died. This is comic book movies, people. So what? So did Gamora. You find a way to bring the characters back. It's a fictional universe, okay? Anything could happen, so you could easily write a way to get Iron Man back. So it doesn't matter, that aspect, okay? Don't even consider that they couldn't do that. And when you got billions of dollars on the line, and Iron Man is one of your most successful characters, you really think they're never going to bring him back? It's too much money to keep him on the sideline forever. At some point, you're going to get new actors. And I personally think people would rather see a new actor as Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hawkeye, and the Hulk than for you to have a big crossover versus Kang with Kamala Khan, Ms. Marvel, Ironheart, and all of them. But the shared universe, it does make changing actors a tough thing to do. But I think eventually, not only first of all, is it going to happen? It has to. And second of all, you got to just figure the future. You know, you figure, don't forget actors age. And so you give them about 10 to 12 years. Then you got to find a new actor to play the same character, I think. You know, that's around a good time to make that change. First, like I mentioned, there's too much money to leave these big name characters on the table and not use them again. And the people they're pushing now for their next phase, the characters, they're not as interesting and they're not as good. And that's why I don't think those movies will do well. And so that is the MCU and the talk I want to make now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell if you haven't to know when future videos are out. Stay safe, my friends, and I will talk to you later.